Colorado is about to slide down a very, very slippery slope. Now, wait a minute. I take that back. Colorado is about to dive headfirst into the abyss of socialism. And we're doing it to ourselves. Let's get shady here, y'all. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Look, I'm just going to forego the usual intro that I do opening up most of my videos because right now I am absolutely disgusted with the politics going on here in Colorado. Believe it or not, I'm not disgusted with the Democratic Socialists. I mean, they're just doing what Democratic Socialists do. No, I'm sick to death. I am sick to my stomach at watching the Republicans, the conservatives in this state, sabotage themselves every single chance they get. Colorado has been under Democratic rule for way over 10 years. And the past 8 years under Jared Polis as the governor here, we have seen this just get progressively worse. We've sat here and we've watched as our constitutional and civil rights have been eroded. We've seen the most restrictive gun legislature in this country be passed into law here. We've seen violent Venezuelan gangs take over apartment complexes in major cities while the leadership, the mayor of Denver, the governor, they all brag and boast about us being a sanctuary state. We've seen our taxes double and almost triple at times while the administration waste taxpayer money on these pet projects that they've got where that money could have probably went to, I don't know, wildfire management. So maybe a big hunk of this state actually didn't burn down over the past couple of months. We've seen an attorney general here in this state who waste literally thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars filing frivolous lawsuits on the Trump administration every chance he gets. I think he's up to like 70 now, and he won, and I'm saying quote unquote, he won 34 of these, where a bunch of those 34 are still out. They haven't really made a decision on them, and they're classified as he might win them. We have a Secretary of State here in the state of Colorado who refuses to turn over the voter information to the Department of Justice as they're doing audits on this. And the Republicans, the conservatives, all the MAGA crowd have moaned and whined and cried about all this and a lot more for years and years and years. Yet when they have a chance, as slim as it might be, to actually do something about it, they allow their egos, their greed, their self-righteousness, and this self-centered moral high ground that they fantasize themselves to have, to throw it all away, to just flush it down the toilet. Let's take a look at how. So as most of you know, we had a primary election here last month in the state of Colorado. There were 3 nominees from the GOP party. You had first up on your top left there, Victor Marx. He was pretty much an unknown, not a politician. Oh, Lord, the rumors, the things that got said about Victor Marx were, it was off the charts, some of the things that was being said about him. And a lot of it was coming from one of his competitors, one of his opponents that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But we had Victor Marx. Next to him on the right, we had Barb Kirkmeyer. Barb Kirkmeyer has been in politics in the state of Colorado for probably as long as Colorado has been around. She is a career politician. Most people consider her to be a rhino. This is important here in a few minutes. And then down on the bottom, we had Scott Bottoms. Scott is also a politician. I believe he is a pastor as well. Now, Scott didn't do that well in the primary. Actually, Scott placed dead last in the primary. Scott, if you look on the electoral map of all the counties here in the state, Scott Bottoms won one county. That was it. So for what seemed like an eternity, because it took them forever to do this, we had it going back and forth between Marks and Kirkmeyer. One day, Marks had won it. He was in the lead. He was going to take it. The next day, Kirkmeyer had the lead. Originally, she came out, and not too long after the polls closed, they actually said that she had won. But, like I said, this went back and forth for a week and a half, 2 weeks, where they were still, for whatever reason, counting votes. And it was awful funny that on the Democratic side of this thing, 2 hours after the polls closed, they had already said Wisner had gotten the nomination for governor. They'd already said that Griswold had got the nomination for attorney general. In the meantime, Marks and Kirkmeyer are going back and forth. Now, if you bring up that map that I was talking about, and you can find them, they're kind of hard to read and stuff, which is why I didn't put one on here. But if you look at one of the maps on the counties here in Colorado and how they voted, you will notice, and let me get this out of the way first, Bottoms won one county up in northeast Colorado, and that was the county he was from. He solidly won one county. Now, if you look, most of the counties up around Denver, up around Aurora, up around all your big blue city states, most of those went to Kirkmeyer, which is why in the beginning they said she was going to win it. Now, like I said earlier, Kirkmeyer is a rhino. She's a Republican in name only. And that's the way most people look at her. She compromises. She makes deals. She goes along to get along. Now, if you look on that map, like I said, most of your counties up around Denver, all of your blue areas, all the Republicans there went Kirkmeyer. There's two possible explanations for this. One of them is that, these people are up in a heavily Democratic area, so naturally, even if they're Republican, they're going to kind of go the way of, like I said, go along to get along. They're going to kind of do that. Now, another creator came up with this theory or this idea here not too long ago, and honestly, I agree with him. And what he said, what he proposed, was there were a lot of Democrats up around Boulder, up around Denver, up around Aurora, all those counties up in there, that changed from Democrat to unaffiliated, and they all went in and they voted for Kirkmeyer. Because, in his words, they were scared to death of Victor Marks. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do tend to go along with that line of thinking because I know how the Democrats in this state work. You see, back 2 terms ago, when Polis first ran for governor of this state, Jared Polis, when he first ran for governor of Colorado, his opponent's name was Strickland. And the Democrats did everything except make this guy out to be a Sunday school teacher. Okay? His great-great-grandfather was some grand poopah in the KKK. Stories went out like that. They said that the people that were collecting his signatures to get him in, the people collecting his signatures, or collecting signatures, did it illegally, that they weren't authorized to collect those signatures. They threw everything that they could at Strickland, and guess what? A lot of people bought it. A lot of people just bid it hook, line, and sinker. Guess what happened? Polis won the election. So now here we are, 8 years later, and we've got a wide open election. Phil Weiser wins the Democratic nomination. Okay, great. Marks wins the GOP nomination. And these people have been slinging mud and throwing stuff at Marks ever since the beginning. I can't even begin to tell you some of the wild stories that some of these people have been saying. And it has worked. There are people on the red side, on the GOP side here in Colorado, that are absolutely saying that they're just going to refuse to vote for Marks because of all this. Because, oh, we're better than that. And they make up every single excuse after another. Some people are saying, we're not going to vote for Marks. We're going to write in Bottoms. There are some people saying that, oh, well, I'm just not going to vote at all. There are some people that are saying, literally, there are some people saying that they are going to vote Democrat. And then, to top it off, to put the icing on top of the cake, this gentleman right here appears out of nowhere, Greg Lopez. Now, he tried to get into the primary. He could not even get enough signatures to get into the primary. Yet here he is, he's changed up, he's going to run as an independent. And there are people all over social media that are getting behind this guy. That are saying, yeah, we're going to vote for him. Let me tell you something. Come here. Let me tell you something. This is where they've got you. This is where they had you when Polis first won. This is where they have you now. If you vote for Greg Lopez, and listen, y'all, I ain't got no beef with Lopez. He may be a good guy. He may be a conservative, but he's registered as an independent and he leans conservative, whatever. Like I said, I have no beef with the man. What I have a beef with is how gullible you people are, how idiotic you're acting about this. You have somebody that was voted for, that won the nomination for the GOP for governor. You have somebody. Now, there's a lot of people saying that Victor Marks doesn't have the slightest chance in hell of winning this election. But even the slightest chance is better than none. And I'm telling you right now, if you write in Scott Bottoms, if you vote for Greg Lopez, you are putting the election in a nice, pretty little box. You're putting a nice, pretty little bow on top of that box. And you are handing the governorship to Phil Weiser. And people can't see that. They are so caught up in their own little world and their own little thinking that they're saying, well, there's no way in this world that I would ever vote for anybody like Victor Marks because he's just a scoundrel. Let me remind you of something. There's another person that a lot of people in the GOP voted for here not too long ago that was a braggart that told these tall tales that some people say he lied. And they voted for him anyway, and that was Donald Trump. So, my thing about it is, if you voted for Trump and yet your moral high ground is so high that you can't vote for Victor Marks, there's something wrong with you. And listen up. Let's just say that by some stretch of the imagination, by some miracle of God, that Victor Marks wins this election. And he does just the littlest things, just slight little things. Let's say he vetoes every single thing that the Democrats put on his table that are not right, that are unconstitutional, that violate our civil rights. If he vetoes every single one of those bills, he's done something. If he does just little things, just enough to slightly turn the course of this state, just enough to where the people that voted for him and some of those who did not can say, well, you know what, he's not really that bad, but I don't want him to get. Maybe, even if you don't want him as governor for a second term, maybe something will click in your head and you will see that at least we're turned in the right direction, and maybe you'll pick another conservative that's better than Victor Marx. But no, it's all over social media. There are people out there right now saying, I'm not going to vote for Victor Marx. I'm going to vote for Lopez. And Lopez is actually gaining a little ground, but it only takes a little bit. Listen, y'all, I looked, and it seems like all the combined votes for all three of the Republican nominees, if you took all those votes and put them together, you still wouldn't have enough votes to beat Phil Weiser. However, when it comes November and it gets time for you to go to the polls, when it gets time for you to fill out that ballot, then maybe, just maybe, enough people will show up to tip the scales on this thing and bring the GOP a victory in this state. But if y'all keep acting the way you're acting, it's not going to happen, because the Democrats have done what the Democrats do. They've infiltrated the whole ideal. They've infiltrated your side. Half of the stuff you're seeing on social media is not coming from the GOP. Half the stuff you're seeing on social media is coming from Democratic operatives that are hell-bent on holding power in this state. And I'm telling y'all something right now. You think it's bad now? After all that stuff I mentioned in the beginning of this video, plus more, if you think it is bad now, you let Phil Weiser get governor of this state. You let Jenna Griswold get attorney general of this state, and you're going to see just how bad this place can get. We're going to make California look like Florida, as far down this hole as we're going to go. It's like I said, folks, we're not sliding down a slippery slope. We're about to jump head first into an abyss. And once we do, if Weiser takes this thing and lasts for 8 years, Colorado's done. That's all I can say. Colorado will be done if Phil Weiser takes this governorship and he lasts for 2 terms, because there won't be any coming back. What I'm suggesting to you right now is for you to take a good, long, hard look at this state and everything that has happened under Jared Polis. I want you to take a good, long, hard look at that. Then I want you to look, because Weiser has already said that he's going to do everything he can to help the progressive movement in this state, like it needs any more help. So if you think Polis was bad, wait till Phil Weiser gets in. The only reason that Phil Weiser is not part of the Democratic Socialists of America is because he's Jewish, and he refuses not to support Israel. That is the only reason that the DSA has not adopted him and brought him into the fold and is pumping more money into his campaign. He has got so much corruption right now as Attorney General. All you have to do is watch some of the ads on TV and then do a little research. He is neck deep in corruption right now. If he takes this state and he becomes governor, there's no coming back, because they will have enough power to where they can hold on. They can hold on to Colorado for decades. So while you're sitting there on your moral high horse, while you're sitting there with your better than thou condescending attitude, you better stop thinking about yourself. You better start thinking about your children, your grandchildren, the ones coming after you in this state, because that is who this is going to impact more than it will ever impact you. Look, y'all, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless every single one of you. And I hope if you're living in the state of Colorado, he blesses you with some common sense and you can take a look at reality and what's going on right now. Because you're getting duped. You're getting fooled. You're getting gaslit and blindsided. And you are too ignorant or too caught up in your own self to even realize that. Yeah. Take that time, look in that mirror, think about what's going on, what this holds for the future of this state. Till next time, y'all take care. Stay shady.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! And these shields, boys!